fellow Calypsonians of the Trinbago Unified Calypsonians organization. Your candidate, Ainsley King. I'm in Tobago, was in Trinidad for quite a while. I've chosen to come home and some things came to mind, and I think that I should share it with you all. So sometimes it is good to reach out to people in this collective way, you know. Everybody know how I got into the presidency at TUCO. We followed it. We saw the controversies. We saw all kind of development, but it wasn't an easy road, you know. I have walked from since 2015 coming back there. I was in Tobago, and we would have heard about the court matter and the set of conflicts and rumbling with the assembly and TUCO and so on. But what was actually happening there is that we had dissidents in Tobago who had their own entity, formed their own tent, and when Carnival come and the funding not looking too good for them, they tend to look over at the recognized body, constituted body, TUCO.
The Trinbago Unified Calypsonians organization is claiming victory for Calypso, Tobago Calypso to be exact. It follows a judgment in the court on action brought against the Tobago Festivals Commission by TUCO Tobago chairman Ainsley King.
And probably see the best way out is to create conflict to try to divert funding to them, you know, and you know, it continues to happen. And we are seeing this happening now because the small tents or the community tents, you know, it's like there's a similarity all around. But what happened then, quite then, what I want to really emphasize is that from since then, you know, I have been doing this thing. At times, my brothers, my sisters will ask, why are you doing that? Why are you putting yourself through this kind of struggle? But I honestly have a love for the development of Calypso, and I'll explain why. When you trace the history, agents of the assembly attempted to usurp the powers of the organization back in Tobago. So what would have happened there is that you would have found that TUCO being a national body, once they had succeeded, it would have been a Tobago entity where Calypso is concerned, because TUCO would have been removed from representing Calypso in Tobago. The funding passes through them, they facilitate in the Tobago area. So for some reason, they had a problem with the autonomy of TUCO, so they attempted that. They even went as far as starving the organization, meaning not funding the organization. We had some very terrible experiences, and as a leader, it was extremely challenging, because you have some Calypsonians, like those on the side, who will try to make you look bad, try to make things look bad.
President of the Trinbago Unified Calypsonians organization, TUCO, Ainsley King, has won his defamation lawsuit against a Calypsonian. Mr. King was granted an injunction against Tobago Calypsonian Miss Ingrid Brathwaite-Matthew, sobriquet Lady IB, stopping her from making defamatory statements against him on Facebook or any other social media platform. Miss Brathwaite-Matthew had around...
in the ears of the represented, the secretaries and so on. And you have to fight with that. But it meets to the point where I had was to, in order to treat with that or to stop it, go into my own funding, because as a leader, being challenged, because I was even called by the person treating with the Calypso tents, or who was on that mission, and told, if you don't come to an audition, you won't be able to sing and all that. That is how bad it was. As the chairman, So I decided something have to be done, because as a leader, you cannot allow people to strip you like that, to break you down, to bring you to your knees, to damage you just because they wanted to accomplish their selfish agendas. And not only that, but I am very passionate representing people. And when I saw people that year singing on chairs, we had was to go in the corner of the road, because they decided they're not giving up, and they came out in their large numbers because they didn't go. They didn't kneel to the forcefulness of I don't want to call people name now. And because I got strength from that, and I decided I had to stop it. And I stopped it because I sourced my own funds and was able to fight a court matter. When it meet a court, it was something that was illegal, it couldn't happen, usurping the powers of a recognized constituted body, it couldn't happen. So immediately they had was to treat with it, correct it. And at that time, what actually happened there was I chose selfishness aside. There's nothing like self, because in order to do that, that is like madness, because people ask, why you choose to spend your own money? But I did it because I stood up for Calypso. I stood up for TUCO in Tobago and went to court and won. Years after that, 4 or 5 years, because of that, well, you know what will happen then. Because the fight is still there. You embarrass us, you disrespect us, okay, what are you going to do for you? And the same thing happened again, and it happened again. And as it happened, I would have used like 400,000 every year and had to go back, had to challenge them back in court to get back that money. But I did it. And as mad as it sounds, and mad as people might look at it, today, that is serving as evidence of me. I'm not in this thing for anything. I'm not in this thing because as far as I'm concerned then, TUCO couldn't do anything for me then. But I was able to save TUCO then. And coming to Trinidad, I met a bankrupt. When I went Brother Resistance Pass, the organization was bankrupt. Aside from it being bankrupt, the attitude of the people around, it was clear that what had the organization bankrupt was right before your eyes, because TUCO is like a feeding ground, and for who don't know, I'm telling you all. And some people from all corners of Trinidad look forward to feed at TUCO. And when I look at it, I didn't know the experience I had, the tough, challenging experiences I had in Tobago would have served to make me a person who could have tolerated that, who had what it takes to stand up to something like that. Because in Trinidad, we had no money. Some $24,000 was in the bank, and people's salary wasn't paid for like months. And it was just craziness. And then there was mistrust in the organization, because when you go to the facilitators, the NCC and so on, you would have sensed that there was this high level of mistrust. And I had to deal with that. But I dealt with it because it was clear that my intention wasn't to allow that practice to be maintained. I stood up, and different changes which I'm sure people would have seen along the way. So it was during the COVID period, right? Because at that time I started to think, what is happening? Because the world was hit with the COVID, and we know how that was, and nothing wasn't happening. People wasn't getting jobs to do because people couldn't go around and so on. I decided, well, look, let us do something here, because especially for the senior Calypsonians, and I created the veterans, and Calypsonians were able to perform on TV6, and we had this series and receive a handsome amount of payments for their work and so on. Calypsonian Luther and all was there, and I was able to produce that from my money, from my savings, because it had nothing. I think that year TUCO did the road march, the virtual road march, but the older Calypsonian had nothing to do because they are not part of the road march contest at all. I also did the distribution of laptops to children of the different zones. I actually went from hill to hill and valley to valley, investigated in Trinidad who are some of the people that this help might make sense for. And I rendered it, and saying this and saying all of this because I think it is important. What I have done was really a sacrifice. I've sacrificed myself to actually redirect this organization into a prosperous direction, because what I've learned is that if you want to have money, you have to be able to preserve money. People can't be coming from all corners to clean up, and for no justifiable reasons, and even trying to extort, manipulate their way into, or even bullying, because I've seen that. But if this, to me, the time has come for Calypsonians to benefit from whatever is being provided for them. And this is all I'm simply saying. And this is my main reason for being here. In moving forward, let us think because what is best for the organization is for us to change the culture. It's for us to make sure we have money, because when you look at what is happening, many Calypsonians died poor in the past. Calypsonians need to start being paid. Aside from start being paid, we as an organization need to be strong enough to take care of our people financially and otherwise. For example, when people die, this 2005 and that kind of thing, we must be able to buy a casket. We must be able to assist our people when they're sick and all that. But in order to do that, we have to be a strong organization that have. And the only way we could have, not with the practice that we have now. And I'm totally against that, because I have demonstrated that I am not here to extort this organization. I'm not here to build myself up of this organization. As a matter of fact, my past has demonstrated that in a clear way. So, my dear fellow Calypsonians, again, I thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day, because I am having one also. Thank you.